people to trust you? How do you get people to commit to you? How do you get people to be loyal to you? How do you get people to give 100% to you? Folks, building, trusting relationships is not almost everything. It's everything there is, plus everything there is, plus everything there is. You gotta be there. You gotta be there for them. You gotta be loyal to them. You gotta believe in them. And you gotta prove it. I think of Bob Miller, who was a basketball coach in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, when we were at Waddell & Reed, and I recruited Bob part-time into Waddell & Reed. And I called Bob on the phone one day and said, Bob, I'm coming to Fort Lauderdale next week, and I want to get together and have lunch with you and Jane. And we chatted, and he said, Art, he said, you know, I sold a coaching friend of mine. I replaced his cash value policy with term last week, and the old agent came back and, you know, told him he ought to keep the cash value and that A.O. Williams had been run out of 98 states and all this kind of crap, you know. And he said he finally gave up on saving his cash value policy. He said, well, if you want term, you should have told me I could give you term. And I can give it to you 3 pennies cheaper than A.O. Williams can give it to you. I said, Bob, call that coach. You call that coach and you set up an appointment. I want to see him. That's not right what he did to you, Bob. And Bob said, Art, please don't do that. You know, the money's not that important to me. He said, he's a friend of mine and he's got term insurance now. I'm happy with that. That's okay. Please let it drop. I said, no way, Bob. You call that guy. You set up an appointment. That's not right what he did to you. Bob called and made an appointment with him. We went to see him. And I said, Coach, that whole life guy screwed you and your family. If you had died, your wife and those kids would have had to suffer like my mama and my 2 brothers had to suffer. Bob Miller educated you on the right way to protect your family, and he sold you a great term product at a great price. And you're letting that asshole come in here that screwed you? And you gonna let him sell you term insurance because it's 3 cents cheaper? That ain't right. That ain't right, Coach. You ain't a good guy, Coach, to do something like that. Before we left that house, he took our A.O. Williams term policy, and he also joined us as a recruit. And he was a great part-time crusader for the next 20 years. But 2 things happened that night to me and Bob Miller. Bob Miller believed in Art Williams a little bit more. A few years later, when we were just growing by leaps and bounds and I needed somebody to help me in the home office, I called Bob Miller on the phone and I said, Bob, I need you to come and join me in the home office. But I got a problem, Bob. I don't have any money to pay you. I said, Bob, all I can tell you, if you'll come up here, you know, I don't have anything to pay you right now, but if we make it, and we probably aren't, I want you to know that I expect you to be amongst the highest paid people in A.O. Williams. In 3 weeks, Bob Miller had sold his house in Fort Lauderdale, had moved to Atlanta and bought another house, and Monday morning showed up at A.O. Williams.
Art Williams used to talk to us about the company, and he used to really kind of drive us crazy in talking about there's a chance, if we're good enough, we could develop a great company someday. And I think the difference now is that that time has arrived.
You know, sometimes the story ends well, and Bob trusted me and I trusted Bob, and there was nobody in A.O. Williams that I felt understood A.O. Williams and what we believed in. And it really had the heart of A.O. Williams more than Bob Miller. And I asked him to come into the home office because I wanted somebody in there. I was traveling a lot, you know, to be able to work with the home office people and work with the sales force to solve problems. And Bob was instrumental in starting A.O. Williams TV and working with Bo Adams to develop products and compensation programs. He was one of A.O. Williams' most valuable people and a real giant in our company. And in 1988, Bob was paid $1.6 million. But if you convert that to today's dollars, with inflation, that's $3.5 million. And Bob and Jane were great in saving their money. And Bob's retirement income is $900,000 a year. So he just didn't quit. He wanted another project, and he went to North Georgia and he bought a mountain of all things, he owned a mountain, and started a vineyard. And now he has the largest winery in Georgia. And Bob built an estate. It's on 18 acres, 26,000 square feet. So he's living the life of a very successful business person. And I'm so proud of him and happy for him. I can't stand it.
I go through a long scenario about your 3 phases of a career. First phase is starvation. You don't make anything for a while. For how long? 2 months or 20 years, as long as you want to starve. And you graduate from that and go to survival. How long does survival last? 2 months or 20 years, as long as you want to stay in survival, right? And then you go to phase 3, which is what? I call it overpaid. You reach a point where you get overpaid. You know how long it lasts? Forever. And you almost feel guilty when you start making that kind of money. But we don't give it back, okay? And see, when they pay us that kind of money, we didn't earn that last month. I didn't earn that when did I earn that money? Back in 77, 78, 79, when I was out there going out with school teachers and coaches, and most of them disappointing you, most of them talking to 500 to 600 people, talking about selling the dream to them, going through all the mess that you folks are going through right now, not making the kind of money that you think. It's tough to stay on board when you go through all that kind of stuff. But see, if you stay around and you have enough faith, enough belief, and you keep working, you don't quit. I'm talking about get excited about things. Get excited about life. Get excited about your career. Get excited about your future.